just about to drive through the Yellowstone gates, and I'm not sure if waiting until Monday was worth it, because this place is looking rammed. Right, we're finally in. The queue wasn't actually that bad, but there are a lot of people around. Anyway, Yellowstone is going to be an interesting experience for us, because Nix and I have decided that we're going to quit smoking, and we ran out yesterday, so we're probably going to have a really ragey experience at Yellowstone, and I can't wait. In fact, the thing I can't wait the most is when Nix gets really angry and takes out a grizzly. Just so pools like that behind us look really inviting, but apparently it's deceiving because the boiling point's been raised so much for all the minerals and other such that's in it. It's actually, it'll take your skin off in seconds, apparently.
Feel the heat from here.
Yeah. So I was thinking it'd be a really good way to get rid of all the tourists because we could just throw them in.
I thought you'd mumble that at least.
Let's get out of it. It really reeks. Smells like our tent in the morning.
Your side of the tent, not mine. Thank you.
Actually turns out, if you drive a little way off the beaten track and stay away from the tourist sites, you get a better view on some of these smaller sites, and there's no tourists. Now this is the Great Fountain Geyser. Although it looks more like a pool, and that big old thing in the background over there looks more like a geyser. It's still pretty beautiful. I mean, look at it. So that's Old Faithful behind us. We've decided to sack it off because it's really boring waiting for it to go off.
Yeah, and it's meant to go off at a certain time and it has, and it's really late, so it's not that reliable.
Yeah, I should change its name to Barely Faithful. Yeah.
So Yellowstone is a hotspot for wolves and bears and lots of other animals. And so far we've seen a water snake. But what we're going to do, we're actually going to hang around. So the best time really to spot animals is dusk or dawn. So we're going to wait until dusk. We're heading northeast. We're just going to hang out there, maybe cook dinner there. And hopefully we get to see ourselves some bears and some wolves.
So behind us over there is a male bison that are well known for charging, so you've got to be careful and stay in your vehicles. We are beginning to think that you guys probably think we really hate crowds, and that's probably true. So we've probably sounded a little bit negative and maybe a tad sarcastic about the about the crowds in Yellowstone, but that's only because we've probably done about 20 national parks, haven't we?
A lot.
In North America, and for us this is the first one that has been really, really hectic, and it's not really what we're kind of used to. And now we find ourselves in this
This is so nice. Look at
destroyed forest. But we love it.
We're getting old.
We are getting. We just want some peace and quiet. That's all we want.
Just need to put that into context. So we do like people. We've met some amazing overlanders, haven't we? That I think where the problem is, it's just when you've got millions of tourists, and as you said earlier, with the selfie sticks and everything, and it's that whole thing of being in the moment. How can you ever be in the moment when you're having those waved in your face? And we're guilty of like taking photos as well, but it just takes away from the whole experience, I think.
It does. It becomes less special. It's harder to. This is going to sound really hippie-ish, but it's harder to connect with the environment you're in when there's loads of people running around with selfie sticks, and there's crowds and crowds and crowds of people, because it's distracting from the real beauty that's there, which kind of sucks. Yeah. But Yellowstone is a really beautiful place. It's really diverse. It's got like everything.
I mean, there's a reason it's so busy, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's stunning.
But we seem to have the most enjoyment out of not being in Yellowstone and staying on the outside like we are tonight. We've made it to Cook City, which is more like a very small town of about 500 people, just before we hit Yellowstone. We get some supplies here, like we said before. What's really cool is it's a little bit traditional, so everything's like log cabins, like you can see behind me. Most of the town drives ATVs, because we were chatting with some locals, or overhearing some locals, and the people that don't live in the town live on the hills around, and it's all dust tracks to get there. And this area is plagued by wolves and bears, so we've seen people wandering around with pistols just outside the town when they're logging, and I assume the pistols is either for shooting wolves if they try to attack, or scaring off bears, because I don't think a pistol will kill a bear. It's cool in as far as you kind of feel like you are in the Wild West, even though it's not the West. But on the other side of it, it does make you think, God, there's a lot of dangerous animals here, enough for locals to be wandering around with guns. But we've got a penknife, and
We are back in the park, and at the moment we're heading through the Lamar Valley, which is our favourite area that we've seen so far of the park. And the reason for that, there's less tourists, which is always a good thing, and there's an abundance of animals. So you've got bison roaming around, quite a lot of them, and they also reintroduced wolves back in the 70s, I think. So there's quite a big wolf population, and you've got the grizzlies as well. So we're still yet to see wolves or grizzlies here, but it's really cool to know that they're around, and hopefully we'll get to see ourselves some.
Yellowstone is a really special place. It's special because it's so diverse. It's got rolling plains, it's got geysers, it's got mountainous areas, forestry areas, It's got the Yellowstone Canyon, it's got lakes. It's an inactive volcano, a dormant volcano, so it's got loads of thermal activity happening, hence the geysers. It's really beautiful, but at the time of year we've come, which is July, it's just rammed. It's really, really busy, and for Nix and I, who are kind of used to our own space, our own wilderness areas, spending most of our time, you know, away from people, it's just too hectic. So we spent the day there and we saw all of those things, but we couldn't get a campsite. Now, we knew it was going to be busy beforehand, and we tried to reserve only a few days before, because we never really know when we're going to rock up in places, because we prefer not to have a rigid plan. But that didn't pay off for this time of year, so we couldn't reserve a few days beforehand. There are campsites there that have no reservations, so it's first come, first serve. But in order to get a space at them, you need to be at the campsite queuing between 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning, is what's recommended. The trouble is with that is, if you don't already have a spot in the park already, you have to stay in a free camping area outside of the park, or a campsite outside of the park. And to get there in time at the said campsites, you need to leave about 4:30 in the morning, because the park's so massive, and going from the outside to the nearest campsite, that's what you're looking at, or at least the nearest no reservation campsite. So it wasn't really working out for us, and after the day of like driving around and trying to see wildlife and all that sort of stuff, and seeing the really beautiful countryside Yellowstone has to offer, we decided we couldn't handle another day straight away, and we sure as hell couldn't handle, after all of that driving, we must have driven about 150 kilometres, sure as hell couldn't handle waking up at 4 in the morning the next day trying to get there for a campsite. So we decided to go back to the wilderness. So we're probably about 60 kilometres, I'm guessing here, northeast, or just east of the northeast entrance of the park, in a really beautiful wilderness area. This is where we are. So we're on a little cliff top here, a little small cliff top, and we've got a little lake below. And this beautiful forest area all around, and it's really quiet. There are some of the RV clubs up the top of the hill there, but they're well out of sight for us, and just on the other side of the hill, so we're not going to hear their jennies. It's a free campsite offered up by the Forestry Service, or name to that effect, and we're thinking we're going to stay here for a couple of days, although we do need to get some provisions tomorrow, so we might have to try and find the nearest town, which is about 20 kilometres away or something like that. Anyway, we'll catch up with you guys in the next couple of days.
So this is pretty cool. I can't remember the name of them, but they're rapids, obviously. I'm going to stop this recording.